Hey parents, welcome to the Mommy Pod, where we keep it real about parenthood. The joy, the chaos, and everything in between. I'm your host, a single mom, educator, and everyday woman learning to give herself grace while chasing her dreams. Whether you're folding laundry, stuck in traffic, or sneaking in 5 minutes of peace, this space is your reminder that you're not alone. And you're doing better than you think. So, grab a coffee, grab a tea, grab a drink, take a deep breath, and let's get into today's episode. Hi everyone, welcome back to the Mommy Pod. Today I'm joined by Hetti-Marie Jacobs, an elementary vice principal, author, speaker, and singer-songwriter. She's raised in Toronto by a determined single mother in public housing. As the daughter of immigrants from Antigua and Ghana, Hetti-Marie grew up with a powerful belief: education can break generational poverty. She earned her bachelor's in French studies from York University and a Bachelor of Education from Ontario Institute for Studies in Education, later becoming the first in her family to earn a graduate degree with a master's in educational leadership. While navigating divorce, betrayal, and rebuilding as a single mother of three, now raising a blended family of five, she became a vice principal within 6 years of returning to education. She is also the author of Get Serious and Other Principles to Pull You Through, a book born from the lessons she wanted to leave her children. Hetti-Marie, welcome to the Mommy Pod. Children. Hetti-Marie, welcome to the Mommy Pod.
Hey, thank you so much for having me. This is just a blessing. Thank you so much.
Yes, can you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself? Maybe start with Toronto, like us back to Toronto, and um, yeah, what was growing up like for you?
You know what? Yes, I am from Toronto originally, born and raised. I love this country of Canada, and I am so grateful that I was born here. My parents came from Antigua and Ghana to Toronto and had me here. And after their divorce, I was mainly raised by my mother. She was the main custodian of me and my brother. And we grew up. My dad was in town, and we did see him on a regular basis. But we grew up basically in poverty. We're a low income home. And what we didn't have in finances, we had in love and faith. So for that, I'm grateful.
Yeah. And what did growing up in public housing teach you?
You know what? It taught me a bunch of things. It taught me that it really doesn't matter where you start, it matters where you finish.
Yeah.
Up that way when we didn't have a lot of resources, you have to be creative. Like I remember the times where my brother and I were like, hey, we don't have any pizza, but we got bread, ketchup, and a Kraft singles slice. So let's just make something work.
Yeah.
And we things out. There were times we didn't have a lot of money for clothes, so we would swing over to the Goodwill or and see, oh, well, there's some clothes that are left outside overnight or what have you. We would go through some bags. We made things work. And my mother was, I joke and say that she was able to stretch $1 like Elastigirl from The Incredibles. Like she just knew what to take care of her family. And for that, I'm grateful.
It sounds like your mother was very, very strong. And so, how did your mother's strength shape you?
I think looking back, and my mother passed away in 2020 during COVID, which was really, really a sad time because, for so many reasons during, the global pandemic. But when she was the kind of woman who personified resilience and courage and determination and a strong faith in God. And it was watching her life and how she was able to handle challenging situations, whether it be economically or dealing with racism or what have you, really modeled for me what it means to be courageous. And I believe that there are going to be another number of moms that are watching or listening rather who will say, wow, yeah, it does take courage to be a mom. It does take courage to do all the things that we do.
Yeah, it takes a lot of courage. As the daughter of immigrants from Antigua and Ghana, what cultural values still guide you today?
It's interesting because being a black mom, I mean, I think of just how my parents raised me, and really we'd say old school now with, okay, it's yes sir and yes ma'am, it's respecting your elders, it is you don't come home and just walk to your room, you say good afternoon to everyone. There is that service and that sense of, okay, you're not just a freeloader here in this house, you help, you serve, you do chores. And so there's a number of values that I outline in my book. One of which is being a person of your word, and remembering to be thankful, to say thank you whenever something is done for you. And there's so many people in our lives that have helped us along the way. Don't forget to say thanks and be appreciative of the people that are helping. And also to finance your dreams. My parents always put in me that desire to make sure that I believed in myself, that I knew that I can do it through with God's help, and to move forward and to do whatever it takes to fulfill the dream that God has placed in my life.
I love that. That is so important. Fund your dreams. Go for it. And when did you realize that education was one of your dreams and your path forward?
But I remember my dad sitting me down and saying on a regular basis, when I was a young kid, you're going to go to university, you're going to be successful, you're going to be one of the first in the family to become a doctor. And to this day, I'm kind of thinking I might get my doctorate. So we'll see. We'll see. It's been spoken to me from such a young age that I was going to do this. And so when I look back to those conversations as a young child, it always connected to education. My mother was an educator. My dad was a very good communicator in terms of his typing and writing style. And I just learned from them the importance of education. And so if I was asking for a toy, I might get a side eye, but if I was asking for a book, it was like, what's the book? Let's go to the library right now to get it. There was very much a value for the education system and a value for teachers and leaders in education, which I believe was what fueled me to become an educator myself.
That's very good. I need to start doing that with my kids. Like when they ask for a toy or something, no, we're gonna get a book, or suggest, would you want to look at books instead? Yeah, that's really good. Um, what did earning your degree represent for you emotionally? Or your degrees with an S.
I'm trying to see how best to answer this because it was for me a fulfillment of a lifelong dream that wasn't just my dream, it was my family's dream. But with parents that came to this country and to make a better life for themselves and for their family and for their children, it was so meaningful. I knew that by pursuing education in the way that I was going after it for not just a job but for a career, that would be my ticket out of poverty and lack, because I would be able to now have a career that provides the finances that I could use to take care of and support my family.
Becoming the first in your family to earn a graduate degree. What did that moment mean for you?
I look back to when I first applied to get my master's degree, and I had a conversation with my husband, and we both were like, well, he was more like, okay, on a financial tip, this is a lot of money, and what do we need this for, that type of thing. And he likes to make sure that we're making good financial decisions, so I got to give him credit for that. But I always knew that God had said to me, like, you're going to do your master's, you got to do your master's. And I was like, okay. It has always been my philosophy that if God orders the pizza, he pays for it. So I just stepped out in faith and got accepted. And I was like, okay, now I got to figure out how we're going to pay for this. And long the short of it is, I found out that there was a scholarship that I could apply for. And so I I think it was about a month and a half or so to write this essay for this scholarship that I knew would pay for the entire master's, give me a full ride. And I applied for it, and I heard about 3 months later that, hey, if you didn't hear a call back yet, then you probably didn't get it. So I just, was like, okay, God, you're going to help us through and take care of our needs. And that was March. By August of that same year, I got an email asking if I was going to receive this, if I was planning on accepting the scholarship. And I was like, excuse me? And I went down the email thread, scrolled down, and I saw that June of that year, they had sent notice to tell me that I won the scholarship, but they misspelled my name. And so the email didn't come to me until August.
Oh my gosh, look at God.
Tell you, when you talk about a moment, you realize, wow, God was there all along. He took care of our needs. I also was asked to be the student convocation speaker on behalf of the graduating classes. And that moment of just receiving my degree and also standing and sharing and speaking to the uh, very intelligent minds in the room to share my story and what has kept me driven all these years. One of which is the center of my life, which is my faith in God, is was such a moment. I look back at that, and to this day, when I look at my degree and the little award that's on my bookshelf, I go, yeah, God answers prayers, and God knows exactly what He's doing. I just need to trust Him.
Exactly. I've been trying to do that, like just trusting in God and not worrying because I love to worry. I love a good worry, but there's no point in that. Just what's meant to be will be. And I really like what you said about if God orders a pizza, He pays for it. So that is very, very good. That is very good. I'm definitely going to keep that in the back of my mind to always remember. Love that. And how do you balance leadership in your school and with leadership at home with your family?
You know what? I wish I could say that I'm doing it well. I fall and I mess up sometimes, and I'm so driven at everything that I do that I'm beginning to realize that I cannot give 100% to every single thing. Sometimes it's like, okay, that's getting 50, and that's getting 10. That's getting 20% right now, and that's going to get 5 because I can't put any more energy in that. And so I'm realizing that with the time and the capacity that I have right now, that I need to be very choosy about where I'm putting my energy and my time. And then when I make mistakes, I just have to learn from them. And when I heard it said the other day, and it was a message for leaders, and it said, when you can't lead by example, lead by repentance. Basically saying that, you're going to mess up sometimes. And if you're not, if you mess up, lead by say, hey, I'm sorry, I probably shouldn't have done that. And, forgive me. And really showing that sometimes leadership isn't just, hey, I'm perfect at this. In fact, it's not. It's, hey, I messed up and I want to hopefully demonstrate what it means to make sure that we're in a good place.
That's good. That's really good because it can be really hard, especially as a leader, to say I messed up.
Well, we it really is one of those, it's a pride thing sometimes
Yeah.
as parents, to I don't remember growing up with parents that apologize much. They were like, do what you're told. I'm putting food in your mouth and a roof over your head. Do what you're told, or else. So it really has been a learning for me, especially with this new generation of kids, of really trying to ensure that I am taking the right steps of trying to find balance in my life between work and home, and when I mess up, to really just try to make it right.
Yeah, that's really great. Yeah, it's hard, but I think it is important, especially for our children to know and to hear us say sorry if we do mess up and they realize that. Yeah. Uh, so let's talk about surviving divorce and betrayal. We'll move into that area. You opened up and shared about navigating divorce involving infidelity and alcoholism and emotional abuse. What was the lowest point for you during that season?
Hmm. Um, I would say the lowest point was negotiating shared custody. No parent imagines that they will have to decide whether they see their kids at Christmas or New Year's or Thanksgiving. Um, it was a very devastating time in my life and my faith. And so I would say that was probably one of the lowest. I remember sitting in the office of the lawyers, and the lawyers going back and forth between the different rooms where my ex was, and I was in another room, and just negotiating between different things, and just crying for like 6 hours straight. Um, Realizing the dissolve, or the end of this relationship that I thought would be forever. And turning to God, going, okay, God, I thought you would perform a miracle. I thought you would save this. I thought you would stop this from happening. And surrendering to the um, surrendering to his will, surrendering to the outcome. And I look back at that as being one of the lowest points in my faith, the hardest, most difficult times, but also a turning point for the redemptive story that I now have.
Yeah, that is hard. I was just thinking about how I missed my children at the moment because they are with their dad. It's actually my day, but I have to work late for the next 2 days. So I asked their grandmother, I asked for him to ask his mom to come to
Mhm.
town. So she is with the kids and they love being with grandma for longer. So
Good.
I know they're happy and doing well, but I miss them so much. It's hard. It is, you never imagine having, I say I didn't have these children to have half of the time, to have them half the time. That
That's
was not never my goal or never what I envisioned.
right.
So it's really hard when you do have to make that happen. And you spoke a little bit about how it challenged your faith.
Yeah.
Um,
Hmm. Yeah, it did. It challenged my faith in the sense that you uh, I mean, you read stories in the Bible like Job, who lost everything, and then, God, restored things back to him. But in that moment, I don't think he knew what was up. He was probably very clueless, as I was at that time. Sorry about that. That's my dog is making noise in the background. But yeah, I found for me that at that point of my life, there really was, I was so low, there really was only one way, and that was up. There really was only one answer, that was God, show up. Otherwise, there's really nothing left to me or to this story. And when we have those moments in our faith, we need to pay attention to them, because they are out of the ordinary, and they're and sometimes impossible. But we have a God that specializes in impossibilities.
yes, so true. I very much believe that. And did you question when you were going through those hard times, and then even after you came out of it and you were able to look at that breakup in your rearview mirror, did you question if you would ever find love again?
At the moment, at the time, really close to when I finally signed the papers and what have you, I was like, okay, God, I guess I'm going to be a nun, because I don't think I'll ever want to go through this ever again. My level of trust for, having given my entire life and resources and everything that I could. I mean, there was no, I didn't even think I even had boundaries. I just thought, okay, we're one flesh. I just took whatever the scripture was and just kind of thought that this is what it meant to be married, was you're one. There is no division between the two of you, or things that you're keeping from the other. You truly are one. And to experience what I experienced was so heartbreaking and life shattering. I was like, okay, I think I'm gonna be a nun. So for the for the year after my divorce, I swore to myself, okay, one, I'm not gonna date. I have to rebuild my life. So for one full year, it turned out to be more like a year and a half, but I was like, there's no way I'm going to just jump into a relationship at this point. And then it was, as things progressed over the course of that year to year and a half, and so I was like, you know what? I still believe in love. I still believe that love exists, and that true love never fails. It doesn't go away. It always stays if it is real, and because God is love. So I eventually came to the point where I allowed what I knew, what was within me, to now go from inside to my brain again, to say, hey, do you want to give this another try? And I'm glad I did.
Do your kids love stories?
Colors, castles, and adventures? Well, Princess Liliana and the Rainbow Castle is more than just a storybook. It's an interactive journey where little readers explore colors while building imagination. From the sunny yellows of the Golden Hall to the sparkling blue sapphire shoes that she wears. Each page bursts with magic. Plus, it comes with a coloring book and activity pages, so the fun continues even after the story. It's perfect for toddlers, preschoolers, and early readers. Turn rainy days into rainbow days with Princess Liliana and the Rainbow Castle. It's the perfect way to teach your little ones colors while sparkling their imagination. It's available now on Amazon KDP. That's good. So you didn't just survive, you rebuilt. So let's talk about that process, because now you're glad that you did let yourself fall in love and have that. But can we talk about the before? So that rebuilding, that blueprint, that rebuilding blueprint,
Yes,
the
yes.
healing process.
Yes, let's talk about it. Well, when you experience something like this that you really have never experienced before, where you were the lender, not the borrower, you were the one that was up high and now you're down low. It is an adjustment on many levels, because you are now, you almost like are like a fish out of water. Like, what do? I need to feed my kids. I need to make sure that they have what they need, but I also need to be in a healthy place. And I discovered from some friends that I have that I might possibly need to consider a recovery program for codependency, which is something I did not know about in the past. I didn't even know what the word meant. I had to go do some research about that. And I went to the library and talked with people and found out that there was a Celebrate Recovery program wherein I could go. And also, it's the same type of program that other like addicts and people who are dealing with, drug addictions and alcoholism, etc., also attend. And it is a way to work through some steps that would help towards recovery. And I fought that tooth and nail, to be honest. I was like, nope, it's not me that was the problem. It was the other person. Until I finally came to the understanding that a lot of the things that I had allowed was because I didn't have the boundaries, the healthy boundaries in my life that would have helped me to not feel so devastated. And so I did a Celebrate Recovery program with a sponsor. My church was so fantastic. They helped to pay for some therapy sessions with a Christian counselor, which was absolutely amazing. I had tried to get my ex to join the therapy times for some marriage therapy and counseling, but eventually he did not want to do it, and he had his reasons that I found out later that there was somebody else in the picture. And then I also surrounded myself with a supportive group of women from the church that were part of a mom group that I would attend on Mondays with, a whole bunch of moms and a mentor mom. And they would, just circle around all the women and just help and encourage them and uplift them during these mom community times every Mondays. And they were so supportive with, sometimes they would say, hey, I'll watch your kids while you go to therapy, or hey, let's get together for a play date. Hey, I have some extra food or a meal. Would you like? And those are the type of things that came right at the right time for me in my faith and my struggle, that showed me, hey, Hetty, I'm going to take care of you. I felt like God was saying, here's some things that I'm bringing your way to make sure that you come through this successfully. Some other things was I had to find a home church. So I came back my kids were born in Tennessee. So I was in Tennessee and I came back to Toronto. So I went back to my home church there, which was for me like a soft place to land, because there was church moms that saw me growing up that were still there, that were able to love on my children and just really be encouraging to me as I was going through this. I did some fun things, like I went on solo trips to like Niagara-on-the-Lake or Kingston. I'd rent an Airbnb when my kids were with their dad. I was like, okay, what can I do this weekend or this week when they're away with their dad? And I even went to Europe and did backpacking across Europe, which was so fun, where my mom actually watched the kids so I can do that. And I just pushed myself towards doing things to ignite the joy back into my life. So hobbies, I started running, I signed up for races and I did a marathon. I improved my credentials with work. So I started taking courses towards becoming an administrator. And I took the time to heal.
I love that. And then you found the love of your life.
I sure did.
This is amazing because I have gone through the breakup, the brokenness, and I did not do hardly any of the steps that you have said. I did therapy. I went to church, but I would never have thought to do like celebrate recovery for the codependency. I didn't know that was an option. I did not know that was a thing. And then I find myself working and going home. But there's so much more to life. So yeah, do new hobbies, go on trips. That's so amazing. Backpack Europe. I talked myself out of getting Airbnbs because I'm like, maybe I could go like here for a little bit. And I'm like, nah, I'll just wait till when I have the kids and then the kids can go and experience it with me. But no, I should go on my own. And
yes, I would go on dates. I'll be like, okay, I wouldn't necessarily dress up to the nines here, but I would be like, okay, tonight is going to be sushi and candy and food, and the kids are with their dad, and I'm going to pull up some Netflix and I'm going to watch and fall asleep on the sofa. Like I was purposefully about, I am going to reclaim the joy in my life.
Yes, find the joy. That is one of my mottos that I like to say in life. Find the joy. And it is very hard to do sometimes, but it is very important. Wow, that's so good. So out of all of those, what was the hardest step?
You know what? I think when I look back at all of those pieces, I think I would say sometimes receiving from people that wanted to give or bless me and my family. I got over pretty quick because times were tough, but it's just the whole idea that I've always had in my heart where I want to be the one that gives. I want to be the giver. And it was a complete shift when it was like, I didn't have a lot, and I was just, selling things to take care of, to get diapers and to get things. And I was doing all the things, and I felt like God was saying to me, can you just receive? Can you receive the way that you would want somebody to receive a gift from you? And that was a game changer, because it was like, I am enabling other people to be used by God where they're going to get blessed because they have chosen to obey him and say, hey, Hetty, we want to take care of this for you. Or someone said to me, hey, I heard about your car. I'll take care of the expenses for your car. Like, I can tell you miracle upon miracle upon miracle during that season where I just was like, this is insane. God, you haven't missed a beat. You're making sure that we're taken care of, especially because of the faithfulness that I was creating in that marriage, despite all that I had to go through.
Yeah. Wow. And how did rebuilding financially and emotionally at the time stretch you? Living with ADHD means cleaning and organizing can feel impossible, but it doesn't have to. My book, Living with ADHD, Cleaning and Organizing, is built for real life with step-by-step systems, ADHD-friendly routines, and realistic hacks. It helps you create calm in your space without the overwhelm. This isn't about perfection. It's about progress. Whether you're a busy mom, busy parent, student, or professional, this book will help you reset your home and your mind.
Let me think on that. I I'd given up a lot, but I realized that I can make it through anything as long as God's with me. That was really a stretching in my faith. It was realizing like, okay, this is not the ideal. This is not what I thought, and really trying to stay positive and not allow my words to to disqualify me for the blessing that God may be trying to get to me through this situation, if that makes sense. So yeah, and then waiting for what God has for me, because I do not believe that God will remove something from our lives and now we're, I'm gonna use the word, disabled or unable now to fulfill his plan. Why would he do that? He wouldn't shoot himself in the foot. Okay. I believe that whatever he's removing from our lives, there is a reason, because he has either something better for us or that was not a part of his ultimate plan for our lives. And when I came to that understanding of, okay, well, then I'm just going to trust that God has something better for someone better for me, someone who gets it, someone who understands what it means to truly make a commitment in marriage and to not, not break that. Like, I believe that there's someone out there. And let me tell you, and I've said this before, even to my husband, I said, you know what? If I would go through everything I went through all over again, the violence, domestic violence, the betrayal, the financial, all of it. I will go through it all over again, knowing that my husband, Kevin, was on the other end of it, because I've been so blessed with this amazing man in my life today that I now can see that God truly is faithful to his word.
Well, you're giving us so much hope right now. That story is so inspiring. Okay, so we're going to move to online dating and authenticity. So, what was it like stepping into online dating after being betrayed? And I hate that you had to go through everything that you had to go through and the abuse. No woman or anybody should have to go through that. And so I'm sorry that you had to go through that. I'm happy, though, that you did come out on the other side and that you found the love of your life. So, what was it like stepping into that and being open and vulnerable to dating again?
You know what? I when I put myself in like, go back in time and I put myself in that context, it was not easy. Some of the reason is because dating these days is not like it used to be. You used to be able to walk down the street or go to the grocery store or library or what have you, church, what have you, and find someone that's eligible and make a connection and it just be organic in just a regular way. The way times have changed now, it has lent itself to the fact that everybody is connected and online. And that has definitely pushed us in the direction of using technology to find love. And there is always the question of authenticity. Are they who they say they are? Am I going to be catfished or ghosted? Or, is this real? What they're saying to me, name it. There's so many stories too about, situations that just turned out horribly. So the idea of safety and making sure that I am going about things in a way that made me feel comfortable and knowing that I didn't have to rush. I've always had this expression that you don't have to rush forever. So any person who says that you're my lifelong person, is like, well, then we don't have to rush to have sex before marriage, because if I'm your lifelong person, we'll get married and we'll have a lot of sex. So it's just, hi. Like, there is always these, I feel like the enemy's always trying to um, find shortcuts of the great and grand plan that God has for us. So I had to just remind myself as I was tiptoeing into these dating streets again that it would be probably important for me to try apps that were Christian apps that had the core values that I represent first. So kind of like a container, I put in the big rocks first, and then all the little things can kind of fall into place. And so I left all the other ones and I tried them. I was like, oh, let me just see what this is about. And my goodness, I mean, there was there was a one of them was, what's it called? Plenty of fish. I was like, I gotta throw these fish back. I gotta throw them back. So I'm not
It's
dealing
so
with this.
funny.
I mean, there
There's
was
plenty of
so
fish, but I don't want them.
there were so many of these apps that I was like, no, like they're not looking for what I'm looking for. And you find out very soon after a few, even 2 or 3 lines of intro, whether this person is looking for something more or a friend or a hookup or what have you. So I was cautious about entering into the dating online dating scene. and decided that I would go the route of Christian mingle. And I have a really, really funny, cute, interesting story that I share on my podcast, which is Caffeine Craving Jesus Praying Mom. So I will send folks after this, they can send them over to check out my podcast and to hear a little bit more about the whole online dating scene for me. I go a little more in depth.
Amazing. So yes, everybody has to check out that podcast, especially to hear about this online dating. I know I'm gonna go back on and listen so I can get some tips. And so what about boundaries did you learn? What boundaries did you learn to establish early?
And this was a lot through the recovery program I took, is just really knowing when I'm okay with something, when I'm not, and to speak up. And I think it's very easy for people who have dealt with codependency that your boundaries sometimes can be a little bit shaky. You try to please people and trying, thinking that everybody has your best interest in mind, but everybody has their own interest in mind. And so I had to make sure I established some boundaries like, okay, if something's not okay, I'm going to say it. That I can only control myself and what I can, and you know, if, I'm not going to be someone's punching bag for their, anger or, if they're upset or they, don't think, if I'm not agreeing with them, that now suddenly I'm the bad guy. I just really made sure that some of the toxic behaviors that I was seeing in my former marriage that I allowed to the point of my own, detriment. I was going to ensure this time that I was not going to let that happen again. So for me, like there's certain things that are non-negotiable. Infidelity, no. If that happens, but bye. If there's even an emotional tie with somebody else as a stepping stone towards what could have been even that is a non-negotiable for me. That I am all the woman you need. And so having those conversations early with my current husband, the love of my life, Kevin, was like right at the very get-go, was like, are we on the same page? Because I don't want to waste time. So it was almost felt like a interrogation. He would even tell you, it's like, yeah, that I remember one time we had like a 3-hour conversation where you asked me every possible question that exists. And I was like, yeah, because I want to know if we are compatible. I mean, Christian Mingle can say that we're 99% compatible, but let's talk about that 1% because that could be the very thing that takes us out too.
What would you say to any parents who are rebuilding financially and emotionally, and they feel broken?
I would say pray. The Bible shares how Jesus told us how to pray about, give us this day our daily bread. And it also includes scriptures about forgiveness and asking that his will be done and his kingdom come. I would say that's the prayer that I would be reciting on a regular basis for the sake of just knowing that we have to take things day by day and ask God for his help every single day. And sometimes it's every moment of every day when things creep back up and we start to have those feelings again or memories come back to us and we feel the pain of those memories. We really do need to pray and give it to God every single time, hand it right back to him because what he is trying to do is to help us rebuild, but we can't do that without him.
What does hope look like for you today in your life?
It is an assurance that everything is going to be not just okay, but it's going to be great because the Bible says, Jeremiah 29:11, I know the plans I have for you, says the Lord, plans to prosper you, not to harm you, plans to give you a hope and a future. And so I feel like there's a greater assurance now, having seen that God has been able to part the Red Sea in my life, having seen that he's able to bring, manna and quail, having seen him, feed the multitude in my life, seeing him perform the miracles that he has given me just a greater assurance and a strength in my faith that it's going to be okay. And I just need to continue to trust him. And every time something happens, it is stretching me and my level of faith is going up and my level of trust is going up. But God is true to his word.
Thank you so much. That was so good. And then if you could leave parents with one closing sentence for this week to carry them through, what would it be? You already left us with a lot of great advice, but if you could leave us with one sentence, what would it be?
Okay, let me think on this. Give me a second, because I can be wordy. I would say look up from the dirty dishes, the unfinished laundry, the sticky kitchen counters, and the Sharpie covered walls, and know that the powerful creator of all things lives within you and is going to carry you through.
That is really good. That is great. You have made me want to go to church today. I need to get back into somebody's service
Thank you
because
so
that
much.
carries you through. And thank you for that reminder that God is what gets us through every day.
Every single time. This is just such a great time. Thank you so much for having me.
Of course, thank you. We're so grateful to have you on the Mommy Pod, and I hope that you come back to visit us soon.
Thank you so much. And you know what? It's great to know that there's another podcast out there that is encouraging mothers. As I mentioned, I have one as well called Caffeine Craven, Jesus Praying Mom. And so thank you so much for just partnering together here in the vision to reach moms and to encourage them and to lift them up and to point them towards Jesus.
Of course, and I know you mentioned your podcast, but can you mention it again and tell our listeners where they can find you?
Yes. All right. If you search up Caffeine Craven, Jesus Praying Mom, they can viewers, audiences can find me on YouTube. I'm also on all podcast platforms. I also have music. I'm very much a creative person, and I'm a recording artist. And so they can find music also under Hetti-Marie on Spotify, Apple Music, you name it. And then my book is available on Amazon, and it is called Get Serious and Other Principles to Pull You Through.
Before we go, I just want to say thank you. The Mommy Pod is built in the middle of real life. Work, kids, laundry, rebuilding, and dreaming. And every time you listen, share, or support what we create here, it truly matters. If this episode spoke to you, one of the best ways to keep this podcast going is by supporting our Mommy Pod products. From our children's books and activity books to our calming sprays and digital downloads designed for moms and parents and families. Everything you purchase goes directly back into keeping the show alive. And if you can't purchase right now, sharing this episode with another parent means just as much. Thank you for being here.